Devapriya Roy. I teach writing. I'm a senior writing fellow at Ashoka University, and I live to read. I basically brought 100 books down from my bookshelf and went nearly crazy for 5 minutes trying to decide. But I've kind of gone safe, okay? This huge book that you see, this is of course A Suitable Boy, a book that is my all-time favorite. Okay, I know it's usually hard for people to say this, but I've stuck to my decision now since I first read this book when I was 15. And I'll tell you a quick story why A Suitable Boy has been very important for me. I read this when I was 14 or 15 and I loved it. My first copy was borrowed from the British Council and I kept it for 3 weeks, then renewed it for another 3 weeks. I read it several times. When I came to college, I kind of got interested in a young man, and then we met at a quiz, okay? And this young man was sort of the quiz master, okay? He and a friend of his was conducting this quiz, and one of his questions was, name Lata Mehra's 3 sutras, okay? The moment I heard that question, I knew that yes, I think my instinct had been right. If he knows a suitable boy, he must be a suitable boy. Okay. Some years later, I married him, and I'm still married to him. Okay. I do think sometimes that he's most unsuitable, but well, the rest of the time he's suitable enough. So that's A Suitable Boy, all-time favorite. This other little book, because I've got a fat book, I'm contrasting it with a slim little book. Okay. It's called A Life Misspent. It's a translation from the original Hindi, which was called Kulli Bhat. It's a book by Suryakant Tripathi Nirala, the great Hindi poet, and it's been translated by Satti Khanna. I was teaching a course on the memoir once, a creative writing course, and that's when I chanced upon this book. It's brilliant, it's formally brilliant, and it's very sort of revolutionary in content, and it's also deeply moving. You know, there is a description of the Spanish flu that decimated parts of India in the early 20th century. And I reread the book during the pandemic. And the descriptions in it, so Nirala's wife and child and brother, his entire family basically perished in the Spanish flu. And at the time also, there's this moving image in the book of Nirala sitting by the Ganga. And the river is swollen with bodies. And during the pandemic, all these years later, we saw the same thing happen, right? So this is one book, kind of underrated. The third is the Makioka Sisters. It's a Japanese classic. It's written by Jun'ichirō Tanizaki and translated by Edward G. Seidensticker. It's really brilliantly translated, and it's a book about a Japanese family, and it's set in Japan in the 1930s. Lots of changes happening. But it's also like A Suitable Boy, very much the search for a suitable boy for one of the sisters. And so Yukiko is the sister for whom they're looking for a suitable boy. And it's Japan in that time. It's the characters are brilliant. If I'm not mistaken, it was also serialized, and I have a great soft corner for serialized novels. So a great book. Here's another slim book. I know that everyone at Ashoka probably knows of it already. It's Virginia Woolf's One's Own. You must read it if you haven't already. And the reason I'm sort of holding up this particular book is because it's very special to me. I had written a column about, which I call Writers and Women Writers, and how a lot of women writers are sort of dismissed as women writers, right? So when you say great writers, and you talk about Nepal, and you talk about Tolstoy, and but in contemporary times, if you talk about, I've been on hundreds of these women writer panels, okay? So it was a bit of a angry piece. I think it was a women's day piece. And then I got an email from a 75-year-old lady, Mary Verghese, in Vellore. And it was a very sweet email, and she wrote to me to say that, Devapriya, I read your article, and then, she gave many caveats that this is not a scam, or, I'm not, looking for anything. I just have a copy of A Room of One's Own, which I would like to send you. And may I have your address? It's not a scam, okay? She said that 10 times. And I was so moved by it. Of course, I had copies of A Room of One's Own from before. One is my college edition, one is I have a Penguin edition. But the fact that she wanted to send this to me, that was so important to me that this is now, I've given away the others to my students, and this is the book that I now cherish very much. And okay, you can see there are 2 books over here because I couldn't decide. Okay, so I think I've been quite serious. So I'll tell you about this this book. It's like 2 books together, because this is Joanna Rakoff's novel A Fortunate Age, and it's about a group of friends, okay, who went to Oberlin College together, and then what happens to them over time. So I read this book first, and I loved it. I think, we can all get behind a group of friends and their story. And then, while reading the acknowledgements, there's a mention of Mary McCarthy, and the author says that, my book is but a tribute to Mary McCarthy's The Group. So that sent me looking for The Group, which is, and I discovered Mary McCarthy quite late, I must confess, a brilliant writer. And The Group was written about a group of friends in the 1930s, right? It's set in the 1930s, and they had all gone to Vassar College together. Now, what is brilliant, why I talk about these 2 books, is that contemporary rewritings of classics are a great way to get people interested in classics, to get them to go back. So I think we should have more of this. In India, we've got so many classics which then, tend to get sort of taught in classrooms, but not read for pleasure. So I think that that's a challenge that, hopefully our bright young Ashokans will take on, rewrite and therefore revive the tradition.